Hey guys, blessing here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. Today I have an interesting guest that you guys probably already, I don't think you can already suspect, but you might know about approximately who I want to talk with on today's program. I'm a little late. I think I'm about 7 minutes late, but you know how it is. With live programs like this, unexpected things happen sometimes. I want to welcome you all. If you're watching, go ahead and share this video. I'm not even sure. Let me see if my guest is here. Okay, let me tell her to join. All right, I am quickly going to. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it. All right, go ahead and share. Go ahead and share the video while I let her come in and introduce herself. But before she comes, let me quickly bring us. In case you're watching this video, you're here, you're like, okay, what's happening? Who are we talking about? Now, there's this family called the Kale family who adopted a young girl. She's now 15. She was 14 at the time. Her name is Valerie. Her mom is late. Her adoptive father is late, but it happens that she possibly has a biological father who would like to be part of her life, but it looks like everything he's doing at the moment to try to get into her is being blocked, you know. So he's not really succeeding into just getting to get close to his child. And the woman that has custody of her now is walled apart with him or against him. They are not meeting eyeball to eyeball. They are not agreeing on things. They are not on speaking terms. So it's now involving a legal issue concerning, okay, you have to do a DNA to prove that you are the father, and then maybe you can claim the child. And now, so far, we haven't heard anything about any DNA being done. We don't know what is happening with that regards. We haven't heard too much from the supposed biological father. So we want to get more insight today. What is really happening? I believe there is so much happening behind closed doors that we don't know. Majority of what we know today is coming from the KO family, but we are not really hearing too much from the other side. So today we are bringing in someone who has more knowledge than us, who is just outside. The person is based in Austria. The person is on ground there. So we are going to be hearing from another side than what we are used to hearing so far. So I think she's backstage. I'm just going to let her come in, introduce herself, and we are going to ask as many questions as possible. Go ahead and share this video. Drop all your questions. It's very, very important that we hear from her. All right. So let me see. Oh, wait. Can you try to join again? Let me see. Let me see. Is she here now?
Can you hear me?
Hello, I see you. How are you?
I'm fine. Can you
Can you
hear me?
hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello? Uh, I see you, but I don't hear you. Did you grant access to your microphone? I'm just going to wait to hear something from you. Can you hear me? All right, so let me just, before we hear her, you know how it is with technical issues when you're live. This is Mrs. or Miss, I'm not too sure. Ursulu Prinzinger. She's a social worker and she knows quite something. I have spoken with her prior to this interview, and she's going to be giving us, like I said, more insight. I have someone here, by the way. You know how it is with the flu going around now, so bear with me. So we want to really know what is happening, especially legally with Valerie. And what prompted all of this was that incident with the scooter, the e-scooter that happened the other day. That is how all of this came about. I'm going to try to see if I can get her. Otherwise, we're going to do it through WhatsApp if this doesn't work out.
Hello.
Let's see.
Can you hear me?
This phone, sometimes it doesn't just want to accept my face ID.
Hello.
Um, can you hear me? Wait,
Hello,
can
can you
you
hear me?
hear me? Oh, I can
Can
hear
you
you
listen?
now a bit.
Ah, super. Okay, settings finally.
Can everybody else hear her? I think your sound is very low. Did you grant access to the mic?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you say something? Can you say something?
Yeah.
Let me see how
Yeah.
you sound.
Can you hear me now? I'm
Yes,
using
I
my
can hear you. Can
earphone.
everybody hear her? I need to be sure that, okay, someone can hear her. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'll just let you go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us in which capacity you're operating at the moment, and what we should expect to hear from you today. What can we expect to learn from everything that is happening from you today?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for having me. My name is Ursula Prinzinger. I'm living in Vienna in Austria, so that's the same country as the girl is living now. And yeah, I'm actually working as a web developer, but I'm very much involved into the African community here in Austria. And so I got to know some people, and one of them introduced me to the biological father of Valerie and asked me whether I could help as someone speaking the language of the country, which is German, and
Mhm,
as someone being in the country. And so I volunteered and said, yeah, I would try to do my best. And that's how I got involved. And that's how I try to help the biological father to get into contact with his daughter.
mhm.
Because so far, yeah, it seems that he's trying and trying and trying, and there is another person who is trying to prevent it. And this is also something that's ongoing. So
Okay, you said he's trying, trying, trying. Can you tell us exactly how he's trying, what he's doing at the moment?
yeah, actually, this whole thing started already in 2019 when Valerie's mom passed away. And he was already trying to kind of prove that he is the biological father, which everyone can kind of see anyway because of the very dark skin of Valerie. So no one normally would expect that she's the girl of a white man. So
Okay.
normally,
I'm going to quickly stop you there because that is
mhm,
a very, very intricate part of this entire story. You said he was already trying in 2019.
of course.
Was Mabel already in the picture in 2019?
I don't know the exact date that she got involved, but actually, he was even reaching out to her, asking her for help, because it was not that easy for him because the legal dad was still alive, and that one was also trying to prevent him from coming and seeing his daughter.
Okay.
So he actually
Mhm.
reached out. It could have been 2019 that it started, but it also could have been just 2020. I don't know that exact date.
Okay. So he was already trying, even when the adoptive father of Valerie was alive, Mr. Phelps.
Yes, yes.
So how did he try with Mr. Phelps? What did he do?
So one thing, for instance, was also again I don't know exactly when it happened, but Valerie got into this home care system when the legal dad was still alive because he was already sick and a bit older. So he tried to actually visit her there,
Mm-hmm.
but he reached out to lawyers, he reached out to friends, and they actually said he should not really come and try to see her because he would not know, or they would not know what the legal dad would try to do. It was the same with the funeral. He actually wanted to come to the funeral, of course, of late mom of Valerie, but they said they were afraid that the biological, no, not the biological, the legal dad, Mr. Fels, would maybe even call the police on him
Mm-hmm.
on that occasion, because he was afraid he would come to pick Valerie, which is ridiculous anyway. You cannot come to a funeral and just pick a child, but apparently they were afraid that, yeah, there could be problems, issues, just because he would come and attend to the
Okay.
funeral.
So the reason I really wanted to focus on this part of the story is because the narrative we are getting from Mabel is that Mr. Chooks allegedly has been out of the picture. He's not responsible, according to Mabel, and he has never been part of Valerie's life until she came into the picture. And it was until she cleaned Valerie up and he started to see Valerie on Facebook that he started to show interest. But what you're telling us today is that Mr. Promise Chooks already was in the picture even before all the social media noise around Valerie. And he was even trying when Mr. Phelps, the adoptive father of Valerie, was still alive. But Mr. Phelps also wasn't very cooperative, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
So he was
that's
already trying, but it didn't work out. But when Mabel tried, it worked out. Why do you think it worked out for Mabel and it didn't work out for Mr. Promise Chooks?
that's a good question. I mean, the question is what happened in which sequence. Actually, that is one thing, and the other thing is, and that's actually the main problem, and something that Mabel is using again and again. Although, as an Austrian citizen, really she should know better. Yeah, she's again and again telling all her followers that Chooks Promise should just come and do a DNA test, and then
Mhm.
everything could work out fine and everything would be great. In fact, she knows that Austrian law, and he even got it, he was even trying it, by applying again and sending this application to a court. And he got again rejected of doing a DNA test because, according to Austrian law, as weird as it sounds, the only person who is allowed to go and even demand for a DNA test is Valerie herself.
Okay, and has Valerie demanded to do a DNA test with her dad?
Of course not. How could she, when she's actually only hearing negative things about her dad, how he is insulting her online, on social media, or even paying? That was one of the accusations, paying someone to do that for him, which is ridiculous because he's a loving father of even more kids, and all he wants is to have contact with his firstborn child. So I wouldn't know which kind
Okay,
of
so
father would do that. Yeah.
yes. And that is another crazy part of this entire story. And that is where, for me personally, I believe the whole manipulation is coming from, that I am seeing, that I'm sensing. I don't have proof to it. I can't lay my fingers on it, but I know something is not right somewhere. And the transparency is not there, especially from Mabel's side. I need to just be straightforward with this one. When I'm hearing that, oh, Promise Chicks, we've told you to go and do a DNA, you are not coming, come to us, try and do a DNA test. But we know that DNA material has to be collected from Valerie and from the man also. If Valerie is not cooperating to do a DNA test, a DNA can never be done. So on the one hand,
Exactly.
Mabel is coming online to say that, oh, you're not coming to do a DNA to come and claim your daughter because you're afraid of being arrested, you're a criminal. But on the other hand, Valerie is not allowing the system to do a DNA. She's not giving the go ahead. She's not giving her approval for a DNA to be conducted. That is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's for sure. So first of all, so there would be no problem for Chooks Promise to come to Austria. This is definitely not true what she's saying all the time. And the second thing is, of course, she will not allow Valerie to do the DNA test because Valerie is getting an allowance for orphans, and that one would be completely cancelled immediately as soon as Chooks Promise turns out as being her biological father. So this is something
Okay.
that has to do with money, and also, of course, Valerie. If you look at the videos, if you look at what was happening on Mabel's channels before she found her orphan kid that she could present. How many followers did she have before, and how many does she have now? So she is not really interested in the girl no longer being an orphan.
Okay, so you just mentioned that she allegedly is collecting orphanage or orphans money.
Of course, that's what
Do
Valerie
you have
is.
any idea how much that could be to start with?
No, no, not exactly, of course, because it has to do with the income that her legal dad had, and then it gets calculated from that. And as we know, as me, I don't know the income that Mr. Fels was having, so I cannot
Mhm.
say.
All right, now let us talk about adoption. Mabel claims that she adopted Valerie. Now, in my opinion, when you adopt someone, you don't receive any more orphan money or orphanage money. I don't know how it's
Exactly,
called.
exactly. That would not be the case, also not in
So,
Austria.
is Valerie legally adopted
No,
by Mabel?
no, she's not adopted. Um, Mabel has the so-called custody for Valerie, so she's the custodian of Valerie. That comes with all kinds of rights, but actually also all kinds of duties. So she would actually have to check that everything has to be done for the best of the child, and therefore she can also decide upon what kind of
Okay,
school she's
just
going
to
to
help
and
us,
other things.
yeah, just to help us a bit, can you explain briefly? You don't have to go into details. Could you explain briefly the difference between adoption and guardianship or custodianship?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the difference? Yeah.
So there is not yeah, there is not a lot of difference regarding rights and duties, because as I said, she can decide upon health treatments or school and so on. So it's similar like an adoption, but the main difference is adoption would really involve and integrate Valerie completely into Mabel's family. Normally, the name would be changed, and of course, the allowance for orphans would be ceased. So she would only still get all these kind of financial supports of government, like Familienbeihilfe
Mm-hmm.
or this Familienbonus Plus and Kindermehrbetrag and all these things that she
Mm-hmm.
gets for any child that you have here in Austria. So that's
Okay.
normal. Um, but the main difference is that she's not completely legally integrated into the family as long as she's not being adopted.
Okay.
And for now, I would even consider court to be very hesitant to, if she now would apply for an adoption, or maybe at the age of 18 when the allowance for orphans would end anyway, wi- except Valerie would go and study, then it would even be paid out for longer. But custodian is ending when Valerie will have her 18th birthday.
Okay. So what happens then when she clocks 18 if she's just in their custody?
That depends on both of them. So with 18, Valerie is an adult. She could just pack her things and go. She might as well consider to just stay and go on living with the family, starting another school or starting to study, starting a job, whatever. So that depends. It could be a time where Mabel says, okay, I want you to leave the family, which I actually doubt, but that could happen. But that's something that's up to both of them. They would be two adults that decide on what to do and how to go from there.
All right. Another question I'm going to ask you now. Now, before we even get there, we know that so far, Mabel has told us, she has sworn actually that she never receives a penny from Austrian government and she's spending her own money and nobody gives her money. But now you're telling us she still receives money as, for orphanage care or whatsoever.
Yeah,
just because she.
that's actually the money for Valerie. But as a custodian, she of course can use this money for the good, for the best of Valerie. And
Yes.
also, she of course gets the same kind of money as she gets for all her other kids, also for
Yes.
Valerie.
Okay. So every child, also in the Netherlands here, every child is entitled to a certain amount of money. So
Exactly.
I doubt that Valerie doesn't receive that money. I
Yeah.
don't know why she
Yeah.
would want to swear that she doesn't receive a penny. Every child receives a basic amount of money every
Yeah.
month or every 3 months, depending on the country. But there is
Mhm.
an extra on top of that for Valerie because Mabel is her foster parent, you know. Now, you're saying if Valerie clocks 18, Valerie could just walk away. And, that's an option.
Mhm.
But people have been talking about an inheritance and that Mabel allegedly is waiting till Valerie clocks 18 so that she can take over. Is there an inheritance? Before I move on to my next question, is there an inheritance?
That's a question that I cannot answer because that has not been, yeah, that has not been showing up. Kind of, that's something that y- is something that is hidden because of data privacy. So we would have to, I don't know, maybe Jugendamt could try to find out about an inheritance, whether there is one, how much it might be, and so on. That all
Okay.
depends also on how successful the books of Mr. Fels are actually sold. So,
All right. So now let's just imagine, let's assume there is an inheritance. We are not sure yet, but
mhm.
let's just say, okay, maybe there is an inheritance. What happens when Valerie clocks 18? Does Mabel then still have access to that inheritance if she's just a custodian?
um, first of all, with 18, when Valerie is going to be 18, she will no longer be her custodian. So that ends with her 18th birthday.
So she will no
Secondly,
longer have power. Mm-hmm.
no longer have power, but of course, if she is using these 3 years that she still has, keep her away from her biological family, try to manipulate her, yeah? Like she is doing right now when we are maybe later talking about the e-scooter story.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see already how much she is influencing this girl. So I could well assume that when Valerie will be 18, that she will be even freely share whatever she might inherit with the KO family. So
All right. Now you talked about she's not adopted, but she's just in their custody. Why do you think Mabel didn't go for full adoption?
um I think for 2 reasons. The one is the money issue. As I said, there is money coming in now that would stop coming
Okay.
in if she got the right of adoption. And secondly, adoption would definitely also mean that the court would normally have to make inquiries, ask the family whether there is someone still living relative, not necessarily even the biological father. It
Mm-hmm.
could be an uncle, for instance. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And there are relatives of Valerie living in Europe, even. So we are not only talking about relatives in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, a court would prefer one of these relatives, and would also at least have to ask those if they are okay with Valerie being given out for adoption. So I think that adoption is just something that is even more difficult to achieve with
Wow.
all
Okay.
this situation. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so far, we haven't seen any proof from Mabel that she adopted Valerie. She has shown papers like this, but we didn't read the content of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't know if she truly adopted Valerie. But you're saying here that for you to be
No,
able to
that's
adopt a child,
I'm sorry
they
to
would have.
interrupt you, but she is not adopted. That's for sure. That's a fact. Valerie is in custody of Mabel, but not her adoptive child.
Okay, so I just wanted to reestablish what you said, that before you can adopt a child, the system would have to be sure whether or not there is a relative, a biological relative of that child, and they
Of
would
course.
ask for consent from that relative before an
Hmm.
adoption process can take place,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So Mabel would possibly have to tell people which relative was consulted before she went ahead to adopt Valerie, if she adopted Valerie.
Yeah, well, the court would actually do that, not Mabel.
No,
The
I
court would
understand.
look out for
Mhm.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now let us move on to the system itself. Now that you're saying Valerie was not adopted by Mabel, does that mean that the system is still involved with Mabel and Valerie? Are they still maybe paying her visits, or have they totally left Valerie to Mabel?
No, 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 no. The system is like that. There's youth authority, Jugendamt, where there's a social worker that is responsible for checking on Valerie, but they normally, due to the massive work they have to do, they normally don't do that personally. They use other organizations for doing that. And in this case, it's an organization near the place where Valerie is living now. And
Mhm.
there is a lady working for this NGO. It's a non-governmental
Okay,
organization, and that one is visiting. I think it's even two people, and they are visiting Valerie once a week
once
to
a week.
see
Wow.
whether she's fine, whether she needs anything. They help with all that. Yeah, that has to do
Okay.
with Valerie.
So we just have to be clear here. If a child is adopted, the system has nothing else to do with that child. They just leave that child for that family. That child becomes like the biological child or children of that family. They
Yeah.
no longer have business. But when you're not fully adopted, they are still in that child's life, still trying to keep up with, okay, are you fine? Do you need anything? Are
Yeah.
you safe here?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm. Exactly.
So why would Mabel want to be confusing people that she adopted a child? And why is Valerie still getting visitations weekly if the child was adopted? That's another
Good
question to
question,
ponder
yeah,
here.
but it might be just a marketing strategy of Mabel. I don't know.
Okay, now let us go on to the issue of, wait, before we even go on to the e-scooter, in the situation that Valerie has found herself now, we are seeing things online that I find distasteful. Some of the things I find unpleasant for a child. Do you think it could get to a certain level or a certain stage that the government or the system would also see those things and say, okay, this is not safe for this child, we have to remove her? Do you think that is still possible for Valerie to be removed from Mabel's family?
Generally, why not? I mean, of course, there won't be enough people to watch all the videos on and on and on, because there are, like, I don't know, 9 videos being published every
Mhm,
single day.
mhm,
Um, but there are also people who are watching the videos, and if there is something that would be interesting for this kind of case and situation, then normally I even get links, and links to these videos or the videos themselves, and yeah, we can then check out what is being said in the video, and of course we can
mhm,
also react to that. And yeah, we can also inform Jugendamt
mhm,
about videos where something is happening that is actually not meant to happen
mhm.
by a custodian of a minor.
Right. So, okay, so that also is another very important message to send out, that Valerie can be removed at any time. If
If a court thinks the situation is no longer good for the child, because it's not only about rights over the
Mm-hmm.
child, it's also about the duty to really do what's best for the child. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
why not? Of course, a court could undo what they first did, thinking it would be the best, and then when they
Okay.
find out it might no longer be the best, of course.
All right. Now let us go on to the e-scooter. Now that we're talking about things that are not
Mhm.
best for a child's emotional, psycho-emotional development, we saw the video where Promise Chooks possibly sent in a scooter to Valerie, and Valerie was made to get rid of the scooter by herself,
Yeah.
by Mabel, because Mabel said, I think you watched the video. So you just tell us a bit about that video. Tell us a bit about what happened. How did the e-scooter come about? And the story behind the credit card allegedly being stolen and
Yeah.
all of
So, first of all, why did all this happen? Yeah?
it.
It
Mm-hmm.
happened because someone told Chuck's Promise that Valerie had said she would want to have an e-scooter like that, and he was thinking that would be something nice that he could send to his daughter, and he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make her happy. He wanted to have he wanted to her to have this e-scooter that would make her happy and that she could have fun with. So that was the idea. And as he's not living in Austria, he
Mm.
then came to me, talked about the idea with me, and asked me whether uh, I would use my credit card, look for an Austrian um, company that would be able to send the scooter, as we cannot really bring it physically to Valerie. So we would like to send the scooter. And I said, yeah, why not? And I was doing that. I was looking for some e-scooters. We decided which one it should be. And I used my credit card, my own credit card,
Wow.
to pay for it. And of course,
Okay.
Chuck's Promise replaced the payment. So of course, it's not like me having paid it. It's the dad that paid the e-scooter for the girl. So when the video then came up, that was one day after Jugendamt for the first time talked to Chuck's Promise. And it was the time when he then said, by the way, I sent my daughter an e-scooter. And then Jugendamt said, so the package that came with the e-scooter is from you. Okay, I will tell Valerie, which she apparently did. And that made Mabel to freak out again. And she forced the girl to throw away publicly, being recorded, a present from her biological dad, something that she actually even wanted, and she had to throw it off.
Wow.
Just because it was not a gift of Mabel. And she was even saying, wait, what I will give you, as if that would have been anything to explain why she forced her to do that. But she didn't stop
So
there. She didn't stop
which,
there. That was
yeah,
the
I need to understand which organization was it that Promise Chooks talked with?
Jugendamt, Youth
What's that?
Authority.
What organization is that?
That's the social worker that is responsible for Valerie.
Okay, so Promise Chooks talked with them.
Mhm.
Okay, and he
And
told
that's
them.
how they got to know that it was the e-scooter came from him. And that's when the lady then called either Mabel or Valerie, I don't know, and told them that the e-scooter was a gift of Valerie's dad.
So when you were the one that sent the e-scooter. When you sent it, you didn't write Promise Chooks' name.
I actually did, but I don't know what the company normally nowadays. You get the invoice and all these kind of things. You get these things to your email address, and they normally don't put it into the package itself again. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was not even a kind of delivery sheet or anything like that. Yeah. So apparently they did really not know who actually sent it. It could have been a fan as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So only when the social worker was calling them and explaining that it was Chuk's promise, they then knew, and then suddenly this was a no-go. So this parcel had been standing in their living room, I don't know, maybe even for days already, and suddenly it was a no-go, and the girl had to throw it off. And even worse, Mabel didn't stop there. She could just have done that, but then maybe her followers would really have seen that this is actually not okay. Why would she have to throw away a gift? Um, so she didn't stop there, but started saying, yeah, it came from Chuk's promise, and he even stole a credit card for paying that. So honestly, first you don't even know who sent it, and then suddenly you know that it got paid via a stolen credit card.
Mm-hmm.
How would you? So if I send a
Mm-hmm.
parcel to you,
Mm-hmm.
you have no idea how it got paid. It could have been paid via bank transfer,
Hmm.
maybe even cash in the shop, or via credit card. So how would she even get an information that this has been a stolen credit card?
She
But
said the police told her that she could either throw the e-scooter away or take it back to the company. So she is claiming she talked with the police and the company
yeah,
also let her know.
she talked to the police. So no police officer came and said, "Hey, this is a parcel that got paid via a stolen credit card. So this is ridiculous." She went to the police and said, "What can I do with it?" And she again tried to ruin the reputation of Chuk's promise, who's never done anything wrong like that. Yeah? I don't know why she's always. Nah, I know why she's always coming up with that, because her followers would not want her to see that she forces the child to just throw it away. But of course, if she adds something like, "Ooh, it got paid via a stolen credit
Mm-hmm.
card,"
Mm-hmm.
which she could not even know, even if it were like that,
Mm-hmm.
um, she has to add these things. First of all, it's another chance to ruin the reputation of Chuk's promise, and many
Mm-hmm.
people are angry about him, not even knowing anything about the man.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was using that, and even then added another stupid detail saying a family got deported in Germany for this kind of issue. So honestly, within the EU, why would someone get punished or even deported? So A gets deported because B committed a crime. Um, Sorry, I've never heard anything like that. And even even if it were like that, Mabel is an Austrian citizen. So where
Hmm.
would she even get deported to? So this
Okay.
is ridiculous. The whole
Mhm.
story is ridiculous. And if someone uses common sense and would actually have to ask for evidence of all those things that she's saying.
All right. Let me understand what you're saying properly. When you ordered the e-scooter, did you order it yourself or did Promise Chooks order it using your details?
No, I ordered for it.
You ordered it yourself with your
Yes,
own credit card,
of course, of course.
and your name is on the credit card.
Yep.
It wasn't stolen, it's not missing.
No, I
So
did
why
not
on
go to
earth?
police,
Why
and
on earth? Hmm. Go on.
I did not go to the police and said, "Ooh, my credit card got stolen," because it did not. I'm still using it.
So you are the owner of the credit card that was used to order the e-scooter and you're not looking for it because Mabel said the owner of the credit card is looking for their credit card.
Yeah, exactly. Nice story.
Why on earth would Mabel be doing things like this and saying things like this to tarnish another man's image? It's bad enough, like I said in my other video the other day, that you have someone's child and they don't want you to have their child. But you come in online every other day to call that man a criminal in the presence of that child, what do you stand to gain when you do so? And that is a question for Mabel. Why did she make up this story of a credit card being stolen? How did she get information that the credit card that was used to order the e-scooter was stolen? Who gave her the information? Was it the company that sold the e-scooter? How did she know that? Was it the bank that called her to tell her that the e-scooter used to order, or the credit card used to order the e-scooter was stolen? You don't just come on social media and do stuff like that. The other day, she went and said she wanted to go protect her name from defamation, but she comes online every other day defaming another man's character, spoiling his image, but you want to protect yourself. You don't know the law and you want to protect yourself from defamation, but you are doing it against other people. What do you stand to gain? And you have the child of that man in your home. Can I ask a question to Mabel? Why don't you let Valerie give approval for a DNA test to be done? Can Mabel maybe just go public and tell them what she has done or what Valerie has done to ensure a DNA happens? Because from what you're saying now, Promise Tricks is trying to do a DNA, but Valerie is not giving her approval for a DNA to be conducted.
That's the fact, yeah. And she's
So,
the only one allowed to even ask for a DNA test.
so Promise Tricks cannot ask for a DNA test?
No, he did. He asked a court for the permission, and according to Austrian law, he got it denied.
Wow. So now, this is just really crazy. So Promise Tricks asked the court that he wants to do a DNA test to establish his paternity over Valerie. The court did not grant his request. It was denied.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
was it denied? I just want us to be very specific. Why was it
Because
denied?
of the letter came back with a lot of explanations, and they all referred to paragraphs of Austrian law. Whether these laws are good or not is another thing, but these paragraphs are actually preventing a biological dad from coming out and saying, hey, I'm the biological father, let me prove it. So it could only be asked to be done either by the mom, which is no longer possible because she's late, or by the child itself.
Wow. So can everybody ask for Valerie to go and request a DNA test to make it easier? Because now we are hearing that Promise Tricks has tried. It has been denied. Now, if Valerie tries, they might actually let her do a DNA test. Can Mabel make that happen? Instead of just coming online and saying things, confusing people, all the noise, let them go ahead and demand for it. I believe Promise Tricks is an Austrian citizen. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, he is.
He's an Austrian citizen. So I
Yes.
believe if Valerie goes in to put in a request that she wants to establish, that this person is her biological father, I don't think they're going to deny her. Can Mabel make that happen? If she's really genuine that she wants to, work together with Promise Tricks.
But actually, she gave an answer to that already. I don't know whether you saw the video, but there's another video, and that video is the worst ever, actually. Yeah, that
What
video is one where Mabel was saying she was totally freaking out about the fact that the social worker from Youth Authority even dared to talk to the biological father. And she said she canceled that already. So like as if she would have the power to prevent the social worker to talk to him again. But as she, of course, cannot do that, she, in this video, she said, should Valerie ever talk to anyone that Mabel is not okay with, she will get kicked out of Prank Family immediately. So after that, after this emotional abuse of a 15-year-old, how big are the chances that Valerie even only reaches out to her dad?
Right. So when you say Promise Chicks was talking to the social worker, what exactly was he talking to them about?
No, it was about introducing himself, introducing him, because they apparently only had heard about him, but he was now introducing himself, talking about the whole situation, talking about the whole 15 years, and that he had not been just gone,
Mm-hmm.
as everyone always says, but that
Mm-hmm.
he was explaining what he had been doing. He was
Mm-hmm.
also saying he could come up with the evidence when that would be helpful, these kind of things. And then the social worker, of course, if there's a biological father,
Mm-hmm.
even a not yet acknowledged biological father,
Mm-hmm.
of course a good social worker would want to hear that, because honestly a good custodian
Hmm.
would, if I know, or if I market the girl as an orphan, and then I get to know there is still a biological dad, even if I did not know before, which is very funny, because if I was best friend forever of
Mm-hmm.
late mom of Valerie, and then I don't know who the father of the girl is, 15 years, or like not completely
Mm-hmm.
15 years, but over more than a decade, my best friend did not tell me who the dad of this girl is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is one thing. And then the other thing is, when he comes up with all the evidence, people will see that he was there, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
it's even funny for Mabel to tell people, why didn't Chuck's Promise, who was back then already living in France, took the girl, so that she would not have needed to go to Nigeria and
Mm-hmm.
kind of cancel and yeah, and stop her education in Austria. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, Mabel claims she is best friend of late mom of Valerie. So where
Mm-hmm.
was she? Why did she not pick the girl and said, okay, for the time you want to go to Nigeria, let me take over the child, or even both of
Mm-hmm.
you, and she can just continue her education in Austria, the country
Mm-hmm.
that she's speaking the language of, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that would even have been a much better
Mm-hmm.
solution for these years that Valerie spent in Nigeria, than having to go to France and not being able to speak French.
Yeah. So your question is, Mabel, where were you when Promistrix was taking Valerie to Nigeria?
Yeah.
Since you said Promistrix is a deadbeat dad, he's not good enough, he abandoned her. You, that you were the best friend, why didn't you take Valerie in when she needed someone to cater for her? Why did she have to go to Nigeria? Where were
Yeah.
you if you said Promistrix has never been there? Where were you?
Exactly.
You have also not always been there. You also came into the picture somehow. You didn't speak with the late mom for 5 years, according to your own words. So why the blame game on the man? Why try to just bastardize him on social media? What are you gaining when you do so? That's what I just fail to understand. And now you are saying that Promise Tricks has proof to show the world that truly he has been trying, he has been in the picture, he is not just a runaway dad, and that maybe someday he might actually show the proof, and people are going to see that everything or most things that Mabel has said so far about him is just not true.
Yeah, could well be. But the most important thing is that people like the social worker know about it. Not so much
They
to put
know
it on
what.
social media,
Mhm.
but that the social worker knows about what happened since the child got born, who was there for her, what has been done, what things have been tried to be done. So this is actually the most important thing.
Important. Okay, so bottom line, Mabel can come on Facebook and do all the videos and say everything she wants to say for the sake of content and for people to see her as, oh, the nice savior, the one who saved Valerie. The dad is not there, so she's the one, she's the alpha and omega of Valerie. But what you're saying is that the most important thing is that the system and the social workers, they have the paperwork, they know exactly what the situation is. They know what Promistrix has done so far.
Exactly. And
Exactly.
what
And
he wants is contact with his firstborn child. So I don't know whether any person, whether they are pro or contra Mabel, if anyone sees anything bad in that.
okay, so that's another question. Why is Mabel stopping contact between Valerie and Promistrix? What? Why does there have to be enmity between Valerie and the father? That's what I don't understand. If Mabel has personal grudges against Promistrix, it shouldn't have anything to do with Valerie. It's not Valerie's business what Mabel feels towards Promistrix. Father and daughter should have their own relationship. Mabel and Promistrix can have their own issues. So why is Mabel the stumbling block between that relationship? All Promistrix wants is contact with the child that he gave birth to, even if, like you said, it hasn't been legally established, right?
Yeah,
Why? That's one question I need to understand. Why is Mabel stopping that from happening?
that's a very good question. And honestly, if she, as she's saying, is all about love, if I would love this girl as she claims she does, nothing could make me more happy than finding out the girl still has a biological dad. She's not an orphan. She still has family. She even has 3 additional siblings.
Hmm.
And instead of being happy for the girl, there is the emotional abuse again, because this 15-year-old girl has to hear again and again how Mabel is cursing her family, how Mabel is wishing them death, even the kids. And that just makes me speechless, really.
And another awful thing is for Mabel to be emotionally blackmailing Valerie in telling her that if you ever talk to so and so person, you have nothing to do with my family. That
Yeah.
is emotional blackmail right there.
And
Who
has
does that to a
nothing to
15-year
do
old?
with love. Nothing. This is just, I don't even know what to say. This
Okay.
is
Someone
the
someone wrote
opposite of
here.
love.
Mhm. Yeah. Someone is writing here in the comments about the money. So every child gets money. Valerie gets money, 100%. Every child, even the
Of course.
prime minister of this country, is entitled. They can choose not to collect it or receive it, but they are entitled to getting a certain amount. And I believe Valerie gets that money. But on top of that, she still gets some other monies. But another question someone is asking is, why can Promistrix get a lawyer to fight for his child? Do you think that could work?
What should the lawyer do? Because officially, Chuk's promise still is not the biological father because of the issue with the Austrian law that prevents him from proving it. So he can take a lawyer, but what should the lawyer do? The lawyer
Hmm.
can also only ask the court to ask the girl for a DNA test. But honestly, that can be done by anyone. I don't even need a lawyer for doing that. Yeah, anyone could write her a letter saying, "Please go for the DNA test,"
Hmm.
and she could then decide to do it or to not do it. Yeah. So I would not know what a lawyer could do, because there is no legal basis for doing anything as long as he is not the acknowledged biological dad. And
Hmm.
we know no lawyer can force Valerie to go and do the DNA test.
Right. Okay. So you guys just heard. So if you guys really want to see the end of this story, and that doesn't need to mean Valerie will start hating Mabel. No, we don't need hatred between anybody. You want to get to the bottom of it. You want peace of mind for Valerie. You guys should go and ask Valerie and Mabel for Valerie to go and, request for a DNA to be done. That's all you have to do, because that's what everyone has been asking for. Do a DNA and prove that you are the father. But it's not possible for him to do one. So let Valerie make the move. She's big enough to do so, or let her the person taking care of her, let them make the request and let it happen. So why the manipulation? You are just gaslighting, in other words, because you are saying, oh, this person doesn't want to do this, but you are the one blocking it from being done. You know how the system works. You know that this person cannot do it without the consent of the child.
And then again, she's putting fear into the girl's mind, because when the girl now hears that whenever she reaches out to her biological dad, she will be kicked out of this family. So in her mind, the fear is again, oh, I will end up in home care again. And yeah, probably for a short period of time, she probably would, yeah. But there are solutions everywhere, and it would not mean that the girl now has to go to France. It there would be other solutions, yeah. She definitely could stay somewhere in Austria. There
Mm-hmm.
would be solutions, but Mabel is putting into her head the kind of fear that if this family kicks her out, there is no one gonna care for her again, and that's a lie and emotional abuse.
That's sad. That is very sad. So I'm just gonna let you give us some few words before we round off. Any words, any maybe thing we need to know from Promise Trips, because right now we don't know a lot from him. Anything we need to know that we don't know at the moment?
It's difficult to say because everyone is always crying for evidence. I just can tell you about my own experience. I got to know Chuk's Promise. In my mind, he's a very nice and loving father, very nice man, loving father, diligently working, having this love for his firstborn child that, however, yeah, came to existence. Yeah, that's another story. But honestly, he does not deserve what's happening now, and I'm actually glad that he is not putting everything out on social media, which he could say everything he wanted. He could put out every evidence, like Mabel is showing kind of papers into the camera, but he's not,
Mm.
because he does not want to have a social media connection with his daughter. He just wants the connection to be able to call her, to ask her how she's doing, whether she needs something, maybe whether they want to go on holiday together, whatever. Yeah, just like every loving father would actually do. And that's my opinion about Chuk's Promise. And do I have evidence? No, I don't. But honestly, people who are against him, they don't have evidence neither. So
Yeah. So people
please
who are
use your
against him.
common
Mhm.
sense and ask questions about everything that is being said.
Right, because people who are against him based on what Mabel has told them. And I
Yes.
find it very unfortunate. Just like this credit card issue, it was not stolen. Why did
No.
Mabel come and create that lie, that narrative that it was stolen? This is the woman who used her own credit card to order the e-scooter. And
Yeah.
Mabel knows that that e-scooter is from Promise Trips. How did she come about it was stolen? This is the owner of the credit card. Why do things like that? That is the problem here, and that is the manipulation and the deceit, and that is the main problem. So I just hope that this video gives us insight, and questions are still hanging around that people don't have answers to. But someday I believe that things will become clearer. Before I let you go, finally, does it mean that at this point in time there is little or nothing Promise Tricks can do?
Mm, I would not. really say that, because I think it's about the social worker and how they see the situation. Yeah. And these recent videos, I could assume they are not very happy about them. So it's actually up to them.
It's up to the social workers to take action, you're saying?
Kind of, yeah, because they at least they should remind the custodian of Valerie that she's not only having rights, she also has duties as a custodian. And one duty is to not emotionally abuse the child. But we'll see.
Right. All right. So I think I'm just going to leave it here. At least we have more insight into what exactly is happening. We might not have all the proof before us, but it's good to have a balanced story. We hear from left, we hear from right. Give me a second. Oh, I think my mic was off and I was trying to round off, but so like I said, let me just repeat what I said. Um, okay, you guys know how it is. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Mommy duties, right? It's okay. Mommy's here. All right. So, like I said, it's always good to hear a balanced story. I think my mic was off when I said this, but I'm just going to repeat it in case my voice didn't come through. We've only heard, well, mostly heard one side of the story, and it's very essential that we know that that lie is just unacceptable. That, you know, a credit card was allegedly stolen. This is the owner of the credit card, and a father was just trying to make his daughter happy by buying an e-scooter, and Mabel obstructed it. She couldn't take it, and she had to say that it was gotten from a criminal process, which is not true. And another thing is, why block that connection between relatives? You know, blood is thicker than water. The man just wants to be part of the child's life. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it, actually, to let him have access to his daughter. So that's only a kind thing to do. If you preach love, you should let him show love to his child. If he wants to buy a gift, if he wants to buy a gift for his child, you shouldn't be a stumbling block in the way. And be honest to people. Let them know exactly the situation. If he wants to do a DNA test and the court system is not allowing him to do so, and you want to really, you're genuine, you really want to help, which we know you don't want to help because you don't want Valerie to have anything to do with her biological father. Who does that? There are people who don't have fathers in the world. They wish their father was alive. They wish their mother was alive. But this one has a biological father, and you're letting her live the rest of her life like someone who doesn't have a father. Who does that to anybody they claim they love? So I'm just going to leave it here. I'm going to read comments later, and I'm going to do a follow-up video because this is not the end of it. I'm glad that we spoke to Miss or Mrs. Ursula Prinzinger. Thank you so much for all the questions you answered.
You're welcome.
Yes, we are glad you're here to really, for us to hear from your side that Promise Tricks is trying. So everything you're hearing that, oh, he abandoned her, is not true. He has been trying to be part of her life. He has been trying, even when Mr. Phelps that I did a video about, even when he was alive, Promise Tricks has been trying. It didn't work out. It didn't work out, but it worked out for Mabel for some reason. And now she's taking advantage of that. And I think she's abusing that fact that it worked out for her. But she did not also adopt Valerie from the look of things. If the social worker is still involved in Valerie's life, she did not adopt Valerie fully. So all these things are just coming up and we're going to be learning more. If need be, we might have to bring you back up, Ursula. Would that be okay?
Yes, of course.
Right. Okay. So sometime in future, we might still bring you back to still give us more information if there are new developments in this case, pertaining to Valerie. We hope that a DNA test is done. And yeah, if there's any new thing, I'm going to be sure to come back here and give you guys an update. Like I said, I'm going to do a follow-up video and just properly round it off for now. But Mabel, really think about what you're doing. Not just do things for your own self and for your own feelings, but think about the child involved. Think about Valerie. Think about her future. She has a father. Let him be part of her life. Do not be intruding in her relationship with her dad. Let her have that. Let her have it. She has a father. Even if we don't have it on paper, because you wouldn't allow it to happen, but we know it. We see these people, we know it. This man came on Facebook, on your page. It takes confidence in who you are to be able to do that. A liar wouldn't just come and say, yes, I'm on your page to say that I am the father of this child. You shut him up, you logged him out because you didn't want him to talk. It just shows that we know that, okay, this man truly is. So please do things also for the benefit of Valerie, not only because you want to win a battle, because it is not about you, it is about Valerie at the end of the day. So show the love that you preach. Don't only preach it, act it. Act it and think about the mental damage you might be doing to Valerie. For me, I said it last time, I think she's an emotional wreck at the moment, especially for the fact that she had to throw away the e-scooter she was dying to have, she was dreaming to have. Her father bought it for her. You made her throw it away. That has to be wickedness. I don't see any other way to describe that than wickedness. And then lie on top of it that the man stole the credit card. It's absurd. So like I said, I'm just going to leave it here. I want to thank Ursula once again for being here. Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry I couldn't read all of your comments and your questions, but I will do that at the end of this video, and I will come back with a follow-up video to really, really, nail it finally. I have a guest here. All right. So once again, thank you, Ursula. Any last words? Or you've said it all?
I've actually said it all, I think.
All right. Thank you all once again. I remain blessing Njoh, the analyst, and I will see you all soon. Make sure you like and follow this page if you haven't already. And most importantly, share this video because people need to see it. People need to know more than they have heard so far. Share the video. Let people get knowledge. Let people get knowledge. Thank you all so much. I will see you all very, very soon. Bye. Thank you, Ursula. I'll talk
Bye.
to you on WhatsApp. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Um, all right, let's end this. Mm.